Green and Jeanty in the backfield again. Receiver in motion left to right, throwing the ball back to the left. Jeanty caught it at the 30. No one will bring him down. Touchdown, Ashton Jeanty. Madsen over the middle, caught by Cobbs at the 15. He's still going to the 10 to 5. Touchdown, Broncos. With 1:49 left, they leapfrog UCF and take the lead.
This is officially going to be a 40-yard attempt. Here we go. In Boise, Idaho.
Well, for the first time since 2005, the Boise State football team is off to an 0-2 start. I wish we had better news for this edition of Jay Sports Bar, but unfortunately, the Broncos fall at the last second to UCF, 18-16 on a last-second field goal, really as time expires. Welcome on into Jay Sports Bar. Jay Tust alongside Shane Williams-Rhodes, and I know, Shane, that it had to be a little heartbreaking there, but take us through the emotions as that field goal sails just inside the right upright to give UCF the walk-off win last week.
Watching it as it comes off the foot, it kind of goes to the right. And so you look, it looks like it's going to go wide right, wide right, and then it just hooks right back to the left. And it's tough. I mean, I've been hearing it all week, well, for the last few weeks, that, you know, guys that I just know in the community are saying, back in 2015, up until then, we were like 101-5 on the blue. And all these things.
There was a 15-year stretch, Shane, where Boise State was 104 on the blue, and since the beginning of the 2001 season, last Saturday's loss drops Boise State to 8-6 over their last 14 games on the most iconic playing surface in all of college football.
Yeah, so times are changing, and not for the best right now. So it's been tough to watch.
I think for me, out of everything that's got to get back to like the standard or like all the the buzzwords that are thrown out of the program, I think it begins and it ends with protecting the blue. Like if you want to talk about your culture, your identity, the blue embodies it all, right? And I think above everything else that you got to get fixed, you have to get back to defending the blue turf at an incredibly high clip.
Absolutely. I remember when we used to be there, that was always like just the main goal. It's like, we don't lose at home, and then you want to win a conference championship. You want to win a bowl game. And then obviously doing all that with integrity and class. Like it's written over the walls everywhere in there. So it's tough. When you walk in, you see those big letters. It says protect the blue. So it's tough. That's supposed to be, rule number one.
Yeah. What did you make of Saturday's game really quick? Because once again, we'll dive further into the defense later on here, but once again, Boise State gives up over 500 yards of total offense. They have now done this in consecutive games for the first time since 2016, I believe. The last time, it's the first time they've done it in consecutive games since 2013. It's the first time it's happened twice in an entire season since 2016. And again, we're only 2 games into this season, right? Yeah. And so despite that, they still find a way to limit UCF's offense to only 18 points. Boise State, in turn, only scores 16 points. So are you more concerned about the offense at this point or the defense at this point?
It's a little bit of both, or a lot of bit of both, actually. So defensively, I think, which I feel like Andy's well known for, is the bend but don't break mentality. So, we gave up a lot of yards, but 4 field goals and 1 touchdown with no extra point is I could take that every game. Yeah. 18 points is nothing in college football. I mean, we see guys score 14 in 5 minutes all the time to end games. So 18 is not a lot. I think we got bailed out on defense with 2 big drops in the red zone that turned into interceptions. So those guys don't drop those balls. They get more downs, they get more field goals. Those turn into turnovers, and those were gimmies. We didn't do anything to make those plays. Right. We just were standing there, and the ball fell into our lap.
Right. If you're going to compare them, I will say a little bit of a play made on the first one because Rodney had good coverage. It still hit the receiver in the hands, and I know that your standard is the receiver's got to come down with that. The second one, the receiver literally just threw the ball at Jalen Clark. Like he was in the end zone. Like nobody's around him. He was in the end zone, and he just threw the ball at Jalen Clark.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why I said it's a lot. Because that for defensively, that's what I see there is if they make those just 2 catches or just drop them so they can get more points, we're in a bigger hole. Offensively, we are who we thought we are. We're a team that can run the ball. We have great backs, but we aren't able to finish drives. We aren't explosive in the pass game. The running back probably has the most explosives through the air. So we got to figure out how to obviously keep him involved. But once again, I know they didn't have a ton of drops, but it comes back to the receivers and the quarterback. It's quarterback making better decisions. It's receivers getting open, receivers making plays.
Yeah. We'll get into the specifics. Going to start kind of broad. And, Andy Avalos after the game, his message was, we're going to be all right. We're going to improve. This is still going to be a good team. And there's nothing that basically anybody outside the program can say that is going to make those players think any different of it, right? And on Monday at his press conference, we followed up. How are the guys following the first 0-2 start in program history since 2005 when some of these guys, they weren't even walking yet probably at that point in time, right?
Yeah.
But he still maintains a fairly optimistic outlook on his team. Take a listen.
You lose the game on the last play. You miss blocking the field goal by about 6 inches. Like we said, you blocked the field goal. We're still the same team. We got a different record. And at the end of the day, we control what we control, and that's moving forward and continuing to grow. Again, we will have a good team. We're going to have a good season, and the team knows that. And they know, and we've discussed the work yesterday about the work that we need to put in each and every day.
I don't know what other approach you would have to this, right? Like, he's not going to hit the panic button. What is that going to do for the guys inside of his locker room? So he has to have an optimistic outlook on this thing. But I'm going to ask you, do you think this team is going to be okay? Are they going to figure it out?
We don't have a desirable schedule coming up here in the next 3 weeks.
The month of September, we have been talking about this for a very long time. It is not favorable to this program at all. At Washington, at home against UCF, even the FCS team on your schedule is a top 25 FCS program. Yep. And then you go to San Diego State and to Memphis to round out the month. There's not a lot of opportunities to get back right in that schedule.
And San Diego State doesn't look great. They look almost as bad as we do right now. But what I'll say about this is they always play us with their A game.
They do. They always bring it.
Memphis, you got to also factor in we're going to the South. We're playing the humidity, the heat. It's going to be a lot harder on us. We got a gauntlet coming up.
You got Boise State. This month is going to be one of the more challenging months in program history because it has been a slow start for the team, and it's just a really difficult schedule. When you consider there are 12 guaranteed opportunities in college football, right? You get 12 Saturdays to play. If you win enough games, you get a 13th opportunity by playing in a bowl game, and if you're really good, maybe a 14th and 15th opportunity if it's a conference championship or maybe even a college football playoff or something. But only 12 guaranteed opportunities. And so on one hand, you can say, man, they got to ease into the season. They're starting to figure out who their gamers are or however you want to phrase it, and they'll get there. On the other hand, though, 2 games out of 12, when you only get 12 opportunities, that is 16.7% of your season. When Boise State completes this next game, as crazy as it is, they're a quarter of the way through their schedule.
Yeah.
And so there's not a lot of time to give yourself to figure it out. But, I go back to the 2014 season, Shane. You played on that team that went and won a Fiesta Bowl. They started that season 3-2, and then you guys just never lost again.
Yeah.
Is there actually something to getting into a game and finding out what your guys can do? Because there are absolutely athletes out there on every team that are better in a game than they are in practice, and vice versa for that matter.
Yeah, there is. And this team, we still have a chance. They're, like you said, we went 3-2. They're 0-2, so they don't have as much room for error as we had.
They need a longer winning streak than
you
guys.
We had some wins under our belt already, but last game, you're 1 or 2 plays away. You're a missed field goal away from obviously winning the game. So you're still in it. It's not like we've put 2 games on that we just were totally out of the game.
Yeah.
And that's a good team in UCF, which we knew. They were favored on our home turf. So, these things going in. So I don't think that we're totally out of it. I also think we have a chance to go win all of the games we have left on our schedule. They're all winnable games. Now, are some harder than the others? Yes. I think you go to Memphis and you're not going to be favored.
Yeah.
I think you go to San Diego State, it's going to be close. I don't know how that one's going to – I don't know how they're going to put that one in the books. But the rest of the games you might be favored in. So we still have a chance to win 9 games, 10 games. From here, my guess, I know you love predictions. If you have 10 left, I say we win still 8 games this season, which obviously 8-4 is typically – not ideal.
If it's the right 8, you still get into the Mountain West Conference Championship, though.
And you win it, so there you go, 9-4.
And now you're playing for a 10th win for a second year in a row in a bowl game.
Yeah, so
maybe not an elite bowl game, but a bowl game.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but we're not out of it. You know? And I think winning a conference championship this year could possibly be the ceiling for us with where we are. Obviously,
is that okay?
I mean,
is that okay?
Not typically. It's not just winning,
right?
Yeah,
because I know that we talk about the standard, and it's in forever. I mean, since Coach Pete was here when that facility was built, you know, it said win the Mountain West Conference Championship is like one of the and a bowl game is the primary standard of this program, and it always kind of felt to me that meant like you had to check that box for a greater opportunity, right? So that was just like, this is the business we're taking care of, so we can actually go off and achieve what we think we're capable of.
And when Coach Pete was there, you had to be the highest-ranked group of 5, but you also had to be a conference champion. So that all played in together. So if we got that taken care of, then now it's just let the computers do what they do.
So now, as you said, though, at least for this team, is that the ceiling? So now we kind of got to debate like what the actual standard is, which – I don't know if that's worth getting into.
I'm going ceiling based off of the first 2 losses.
Yeah.
Obviously, beginning of the season, no.
Yeah.
But now, we're in a tough spot right now.
A little bit of a tough spot. Like I said, 0-2 for the first time since 2005. 8-6 over the last 14 on the blue. They got to get right. One person that is certainly helping that, as I shift to something positive here, because this is, I mentioned this last week, he is undebatable right now. Ashton Jeanty. He's not one of the best players on the team. He's not one of the best players in the conference. He's one of the best players in the country. His explosiveness has been insane. His versatility has been insane. And right now, he appears to be Boise State's offense, Shane.
Yep, he was my pick for player of the game last week. And obviously, maybe they listened to the podcast because they made sure they got him involved. And they did it in so many different ways. Screens, jet sweeps. I mean, he's out running routes. I love it. You got to just get him in space.
He played 62 snaps on offense. I mean, he was on the field as a running back and a guy that's running all the jet sweeps and all this thing. He was on the field for about 95% of their offensive snaps. I mean, that's a heavy workload, man. I don't know if J Mac or Jay Ajayi were on the field for that amount of time. They had more touches in a game, but in terms of just not coming off of the field, they probably need to make sure that they spell him a little bit more moving forward.
And I'd even like seeing the Dunbar kid run some of those jet sweeps because speed-wise, he looks like he might be faster than Jeanty. He can run.
Breezy's one heck of a talent. Another Texas kid, where they went and got Ashton out of, although Ashton also has roots in the state of Florida too. But I don't know where they would be right now without Ashton Jeanty, because as you try to figure things out offensively, he's a guy that you don't have to figure out. He makes everything that's wrong right and everything that's right spectacular. Evident of another 38-yard screen pass that he took to the house against UCF to start the scoring for that game. He had 29 touches in that game. He didn't even really look like he was fazed by it. I think that the thing that will be interesting to me now with him are the things that we won't get to witness, at least as media members, because when you touch the rock that many times in a game at that position, all of a sudden you have to start really taking care of your body midweek so that you can come back and do it again. I think that Jay Ajayi was probably elite at that his senior year. I know that people at times might have questioned Jay's, practice habits, I would say. He got better as he got older, for sure.
Yeah.
But he was really, really good at getting in the ice tub and recovering so that he could go back out and get 30 touches again and not look like he missed a beat.
Yeah, Jay used to look like he came back from war after every game.
Yeah.
He used to go through it. Knee swells up. He'd have to sit out Monday, Tuesday, get back into practice on work day Wednesday, walkthroughs on Thursday. So it's a process. I'm glad I never had to go through that.
I mean, I don't know how often, but I heard that it was quite often that, Jay was out there getting he get his knee drained once a week or something like that just to make sure that he was good to go.
It's true. I've seen him fill up about 2 or 3 tubes of just pus just built up in there. And they just drain it until they see blood start coming. It's pretty crazy. That's my experience with it, is watching him get it done all the time. It's
the stuff you guys go through.
Yeah.
That's why there's always like this little thing inside me when people are like super critical of you guys. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to get hit in the head, repeatedly and then still think about things correctly and accurately. And then, your other parts of your body are going to start to break down and swell up, and you got to take care of all that and go to school and do all that other stuff too. But Ashton has been just remarkable this season, and I can't wait to see what he's capable of. And he's a guy, like, I mean, if we are talking about the current climate in college football with the transfer portal and NIL and all these things, I would be lying if I didn't say, like, I think of these performances like with a little cloud hovering over him, right? Like, he's amazing. He is sunshine and rainbows with the way he's playing. But I don't want anybody else to come in and pluck him out and rain on Boise State's parade, because they're the ones that found him. They're the ones that gave him the opportunity. And I can almost guarantee you, though, that he's the type of guy that is going to – all these illegal recruiting moves that happen, and he's going to be a guy that gets interest. I have no doubt in my mind.
People have always said the NCAA is a business. Well, now we're at the point where now you have to try to retain your employees, which most business owners have to do. So that loop has been thrown in now.
I think a key of coming to Boise State is winning games. So now that he's being productive, win games and just make everybody really happy about with what's going on. Yeah. If we go from the ground to the air, the passing game, we come out of game 1 against the University of Washington, and there were a few too many drops. And for the second straight game, one reason or the other, the passing attack, it's still kind of clunky, it seems at times, right? Taylen, through 2 games, is completing under 50% of his passes. Again, one way or the other, the completion percentage is assigned to Taylen. So one way or the other, he's completing less than 50% of his passes through 2 games. And I mean, that's not going to cut it. Like, I don't know what – maybe if you're Air Force and you're only going 1 of 3 passing and rushing the ball 80 times a game, it works. But with what Boise State does, under 50%, under 60% probably, it's just not going to cut it.
Yeah, and I think it might be a combination of trying to keep things simple for him. But when we're being so simple with it, when you have athletes who are just as athletic as you in the back end, it makes it really tough to get open on simple concepts. Yeah. So that's where they're going to have to start figuring some things out on the back end. It's obviously game 1, as a former receiver, I'm taking the blame. The receivers killed us. And then, you go game 2. Now receivers step it up a little bit more. We don't have that many drops and all that going on. But now we can't get anything completed. Right. So whether it's us not getting open or Taylor not making a great throw, I think as a combination, the passing game, everyone in the passing game has to get it figured out.
Bush Hamden, the offensive coordinator, even kind of, he admitted this week that they haven't found that perfect kind of run balance fit that kind of allows the offense to get into just this rhythm and flow. And we're 2 games into the season. We also asked him about the downfield passing attack, which has really lacked so far, and this is what he had to say.
I think it starts, with just giving guys a chance, right? Because you look at those downfield throws, again, we always say this, if we'll just give guys a chance, they're either making the play or they're getting off the ground and getting a chance for pass interference situations. So, we got to do a better job as a whole at that position, schematically, making sure we're giving them opportunities down the field to go make plays. It starts with the decision-making, right, with anything. When you feel extremely confident where you want to go with the ball, I think a lot of times, too, making sure, from a footwork standpoint, we always talk about be proud of what that back copy looks like, if you will, of the film. because when he's got his feet set, when he's confident, trust in protection, again, we think mechanically he can make all the throws. But that's the development of any quarterback. It really is, and you guys know that, and he'll continue to improve.
If you look at Taylen's numbers, and as I mentioned earlier, the sample size is small, but you're still almost a quarter of the way through the season. I think you have to consider that. But if you look at Taylen's numbers, he's 1 of 10 for 40 yards on throws of over 20 yards this season. Might be a couple drops in there. I'll include that. On throws over 10 yards, 6 of 24, I believe, which... you're not going to complete the further downfield you throw, the lower your completion percentage is typically. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind. Even with that being considered, though, that's not nearly as efficient as you have to be a successful offense.
Yeah, I totally agree. We do not look good at all in the pass game. Neither game. I feel like in game 1, we did attempt to attack downfield. And then game 2, we said, we couldn't complete anything, so we're going to keep everything underneath. And that was not the way to go.
Yeah. It's so funny being like an observer of the team who has a connection to the fans, and you get to see everything play out, right? And unless you score 50 points, it's really hard to just win everyone over.
Yeah.
At the Washington game, Bush was worried that he didn't play complimentary football at the end of the first half, and that game kind of got away from him, right? I go back, I still kind of okay with some of the things that happened. I think it was a lack of execution at times there. Then you go to this game, right? And now there's a minute to go in the first half. You're up 1, have a chance to lead UCF going into the locker room, and you get the ball in the second half. But you're not really too aggressive with that last drive at the end of the first half, and everybody's like, "Well, we're playing not to lose. We're not playing to win. We're playing not to lose, right?"
Some trust issues.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just like it's this back and forth. It's like I think you got to pick one side or the other. You can't have it both ways. Everybody, okay?
Yep.
Pick one side or the other. But either way, they have to get this figured out. And kind of another alarming thing that I would say was an interesting stat that popped out to me. When Taylen has been given over 2.5 seconds to throw, his numbers, 10 of 25 for 106 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's a college QB efficiency rating of 59.6. So there had been a long storyline here of the offensive line wasn't great. QBs don't have enough time to throw. And we could point at that as the inefficiencies on offense at times. Now, when he does have time, it doesn't necessarily get better. And I don't know any other question to ask other than why.
Yeah, that's tough. And the craziest part about it is teams are going to see this, and now they're going to be so much more aggressive.
Yeah.
They're going to say, well, we're going to bring pressure, and we are going to man up on the back end because they see the Washington game. Well, they're best at catching, so let's just man them up. Mm-hmm. Then they'll see this game. They say, well, we can man up. They're running underneath and shallow routes, and they're not really blowing the tops off, so we don't need as much help on the back end. So now we can put more pressure on the run game to stop Ashton. So now we really get in a pickle where boxes are starting to get stacked, and we have to throw the ball. Well, we're not the best at throwing the ball, so we're going to have to start relying on that, and that's just going to – it's the game within the game.
My window of optimism that might work out is the Utah State game last year where they loaded the box, they made Taylen throw, and Taylen had one of his best throwing performances of his career. I think he had 4 touchdowns in that game. But again, we talk about sample size, and there's not a lot of evidence there that we can really point to feel confident about it. And again, this is a thing where the quarterback gets too much credit when it's going good, too much blame when it's going bad. And I think as a guy that signs up for that position, it's just something that you have to understand. And so when we associate Taylen's name to the passing game, it is the nature of the beast. He is the quarterback, right?
Yep.
Andy says that, Andy Avalos said that they really still feel confident in guys like Billy Bowens to step up and get it done. They've seen him do it before, and Billy's had a really quiet season so far. Didn't have a catch last game, only had 3 on 8 targets in the first game. Eric McAllister has shown glimpses for sure, but he only had 2 catches last game, and one of them came on the opening drive. And so only get 1 catch the rest of the way, and it's just like, man, how do they find a way to get their most dynamic receiver involved? How do you get the ball in his hands? I think that's like a little bit of a difference with a guy like him and a guy like Khalil. If you were really frustrated about getting the ball in Khalil's hand, throw him a screen, they even lined Khalil up in the backfield at times and just handed it to him. I mean, they did that with him. But how do you get the ball? How do you get the ball in Eric McAllister's hands? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, hopefully, I'm hoping that the next team comes out and does all that. And if they do, then now this kind of works in our favor because, like you said, Taylen seems to be more efficient throwing the ball under 2.5 seconds than it is with over. So if they're bringing pressure and we're running quick routes and we're going the quick game, we got slants, we got hitches. Now those are easier throws for him. They're faster throws. We're hitting the ball out of his hand, and now you get those guys, the ball in those guys' hands.
And typically, if you're throwing the ball out that quickly, you're not really relying on going through a bunch of reads, I guess.
Your pre-snap read.
And then you go.
Yep.
And so maybe we'll see what North Dakota throws at them. Getting over to the defensive side of the ball now. I mentioned over 500 yards of total offense, yet UCF does only score 18 points. Andy Avalos said after the game, like, there was a noticeable jump from game 1 to game 2. And I think you look at the stats and you're like, what are you talking about? But, like, I will say if you go back, like, there are things that absolutely got better. I mean, we talked a little about Rodney Robinson being super aggressive because he's a film junkie and he wants to, like, make every play on defense. And last week, like, he made a number of plays by maybe just kind of doing what, again, I hate the cliche, but it holds true, is 111th. And Rod came back and had a good game, man. Like, he did.
He did, for sure. There was a big tackle he had. I think it might have been 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
And the running back bounced, and I was like, yep, this is a first down. No matter how he gets tackled, and Rod's
not a big dude, and he that was like one of them sticky tackles where it was like,
I mean, the guy didn't I don't even think the guy got a yard.
No, he didn't.
The way he tackled him. So it was,
Yeah. And that was encouraging, but, I think overall as a defense, there's still room for improvement. That's so obvious to say. And Andy was saying this week that when they watch film now, they actually almost are starting to do it differently. I think, like, what is the line you walk, Shane, when you're watching film and you're trying to find these tendencies that allow you to go out and make this big game-changing play and get a pick or whatever it might be, versus making sure you check the box on that 111th.
Yeah, it's weird because everyone watches film differently. So, and we even me personally, like, working with high school kids, trying to teach them how to watch film, because some watch it and just see what they do and what the guy that they guard or going against what they do.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's other tells. There's guys next to him that might do something that might give it away, that might help you. So just learning how, and that's probably what they're doing. They're probably teaching these guys how to watch film. I feel like I don't think that you typically feel like you have to teach college guys how to watch film. You just assume, like, hey, you're a dude. You understand, like, what you need to be looking for. But it sounds like he's starting to break things down, simplify some things, and when he first got to the NFL, he told, was it Dungy? He told Dungy to teach me like I'm a 3rd grader every time with everything we do.
That was something that goes back to the Coach Pete days too, right?
Yep. Break it down. Be simple. I don't care if it's a day one thing. Just teach it to me like I'm a 3rd grader. So that way I don't miss anything or misinterpret anything along the way. And I think that's what they're doing. And obviously it's needed because you saw a Washington game. They go back and he, like you said, he's always in the film room, but that's what the way he's been watching. And he comes back the next game and he said they've been slowing things down, and he had a really good game.
Yeah, I want to point out, too, Tony Dungy, a Super Bowl champion coach that does it in the NFL. I mean, he's even saying things like teach these all-pro players like a 3rd grader. So that obviously is a great mentality to have. But I was kind of curious about that this week, and so I had the chance to catch up with Andy Avalos and defensive coordinator Spencer Danielson and get their take on everyone doing, well, their 111th on defense.
Checking the box on the 111th is way more important, and that's our focus now. And it's not just with one player. The focus with everybody on defense is making sure we're checking our 111th before we're trying to anticipate too much and then obviously falling out of place. So that's been a huge emphasis, and not only when we're on the field, but how we watch film. How we watch film too. Is a big part of winning the pre-snap, being on the same page within the shell of the defense, and then being able to execute our 111th once that ball snapped.
For us right now, and I use this loosely, a younger defense, the number one focus for me, for our group, is do your job. Do your job. Because everyone in that seat, this place matters to them. There's no one here that's like, you know what, I'm going to go out there and just do something different because I think I should. No, that's not happening. But we have to have the discipline to do my job no matter what. Yes, there's film study to know what's coming. Hey, I know in this formation, here's the mover, this is where my eyes are going to be coming to. There's a couple different things I'm going to get. But the biggest point of emphasis for us as a defense is no matter what it is, you get a call, you see a formation, you communicate, you lock in your keys, and you do your job. And then you're obviously counting on the guy next to you to make sure he's doing his. And that's our biggest focus across all levels. Safeties, corners, linebackers, D-line, edge guys, that's our biggest focus. Because we got a great group to coach. We got a great group of guys that are going to continue to get better. We got better from week 1 to week 2. We got to take another big jump from week 2 to week 3. And a huge focal point is do your job. What's the call? What's the situation? And what's your technique? Do that to the fullest you can. That's what we need from you. Not to overthink, well, I saw this on film, so I was thinking I could jump. No. Do your job. Do your job. Because that's how we can protect each other, and that's how you're an elite defense.
So Boise State walks out of that game. They do a good job at forcing a couple turnovers. They only give up 18 points. I guess those are the things that you point to one way or another to build some confidence in this team, because maybe that might be the most key ingredient right now, Shane. Like a team that everybody's like, oh man, we haven't started 0-2 since 2005. You're giving up 500 yards in back-to-back games. Confidence is so big, and that might be a key to helping them turn this thing around. So I guess 18 points against UCF's offense, some of the things you point to right now.
Yeah, I think they have to point out some of those bright spots because I'm sure these kids are getting it from every angle, whether it be just on campus, whether it be from – they're going to feel the pressure.
Your coach has always told you guys, like, don't read the press clippings, don't get on social media, don't listen, to stuff on campus. How, insanely hard is it to ignore all that when you're in college, though? I mean, these kids all have Twitter on their or X, whatever you want to call it, on their their phones. And
OX.
Old X, yeah.
So, thankfully, Pete didn't let us – you have Twitter.
That was,
that
was way back in the day.
That prevented a lot of that. So, when I was playing, we never even got to see that kind of stuff.
That's funny.
So I never knew that stuff existed. And Instagram, was kind of on its way up. It wasn't really a news outlet as much as it is now. So you didn't have to worry about that. But, yeah, these kids doesn't matter what they do. I mean, if they're on campus, they're getting the pressure. If they're at home on their phones, doesn't matter where they are. They're going to see it. So it's tough. It's a lot different. The mental side of it is way harder nowadays.
Another thing that I would say I would say overall, but I'm going to stick on the defensive side of the ball. Boise State went out and added some transfer portal guys this offseason. I think those are kind of the guys you expect to make an immediate impact on your team. And we haven't really seen that so far. And, Boise State did rotate in some bodies on defense a little bit better this last week. Markel Reed only played 7 snaps in the season opener. He's getting healthier. He played 39 at cornerback. They only tested him once. It was an incomplete pass. I think it is crucial to get Markel Reed back on this defense, and I think he will make a big difference. Ty Benefield played a ton of snaps at safety for a true freshman. Zion Washington worked his way in and played some snaps behind Alexander Tubner at strong safety. They did a better job of rotating bodies in at certain positions. The one area that I would say is concerning for me would be the defensive line. Mm-hmm. And you had Ahmed Hassanin play 60 snaps. Dimitri Washington played 61. The defense was only on the field for 65. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems like a lot of snaps for a college edge rusher to be on the field for and still maintaining some level of freshness.
Yeah, for sure. Once you hit that threshold, they're just kind of out there. Those pass rushers become run stoppers.
Yeah.
And we need that. Obviously, we need a pass rusher. We always, like we talked about last show, we always have a dude. Someone always emerges. And so even last year. We had someone that just started to just come on, but we haven't figured out who that guy is.
Yeah, and they need that on defense, and I just that seems like somebody hit me back on Twitter and was like, well, if that's their job, they should be out there 100% of the time. I think elite college defense is when you have 105 guys on the roster, you are able to build layers of defensive linemen that you feel like the level of play doesn't drop off.
Yeah.
And Andy's been here when they've had multiple lines and units that they've been able to run through and still maintain a certain level of success. And so I wondered how that applied to this team, and this is what he told me earlier this week.
That's on us too, being able to mix in. Tyler's done a good job. Jaden Virgin has done a good job. Really, Tyler's had 2 of his best practice weeks coming up here, and so the ability to rotate those guys. The reality is up front, we need 8 guys that can play with no fall off, and so we're pretty confident of how those guys are growing here in the last couple weeks. This is going to be a huge week. Again, we worked yesterday on a Sunday practice. We worked. We're on the sleds, working pass rush with the front guys and the edge guys, and so we're going to start fast tomorrow morning, and we're going to make sure that we have at least 8, and we're rotating through there, if not more. And again, that's critical. A critical part of having a successful team is being able to build that depth is early on in the season.
As we go throughout the season, our depth is going to be huge, and once again, the guys that are in backup roles doing a really good job in practice, proving themselves to show like they're ready for those moments. In that game, against an offense like that, the tough part is once they're rolling, it's going to be very hard to sub because there's no time wasted. They're moving. They very even rarely sub in and out of personnel. So a game like UCF is a little bit different than some teams. We will rotate more going forward. 1, to keep them fresh. 2, because the guys behind them have done a really good job and they're pushing it. So we're going to find more ways to rotate to keep our guys fresh and to keep them so we can be healthy throughout the whole season.
So Andy says they need at least 8 guys on defense to be able to feel like they can rotate through and keep guys fresh. And they did not use that many last week against UCF. Spencer Danielson added that, it was tough to rotate in some of the defensive linemen because of the pace of offense that UCF operated at.
It's true.
Still, though, they've got to find a way to add a complement. Is Tyler Wegas, the transfer from Utah, is he a guy that can provide – at this point, maybe even it's not these big game-changing plays, but it's enough to spell the starters to where they feel fresh, where on that final drive against UCF, they're not worried about being on their field for their 57th, 58th, 59th, 60th defensive snap out of 65. They feel fresh, and all of a sudden they're the ones that can turn a corner, set an edge, whatever, contain a quarterback from bouncing outside like John Reese Pumley was able to do a couple times, or just go get them,
Yeah, people have to also understand that these are 300-pound guys, and you want them to play every snap. Not even in the NFL do elite pass rushers play every snap. Micah Parsons does not play every snap. He does run out, take a few plays off, and then come back in. So you want to have guys in that are fresh. Would you rather have 8 guys running at 80 to 100% as far as energy efficiency, or would you rather have 1 guy – or those 3 guys that are playing on that line running at 60 to 100, depending on how tired they get. If the offense goes fast, obviously they're going to be working at a little bit less efficiency. So it's a lot of things that go into that.
So far, I would say really the only impact transfer portal guy on defense, Sheldon Newton, big dude out of Northern Colorado, he's provided definitely some time on the field for Boise State defense, but there just still hasn't been like that guy that you're like, wow, thank God they added him in the offseason. I go back and I look at George Tartless last year. You want to look at when Boise State kind of like the end of the season when some of their pass rush and stuff numbers started to dwindle down. A lot of it not only was because George was the pass rush at times, but he was the guy that was the attention getter and helping other guys, get to the quarterback a little more frequently. And that's why that when we talk about them having a dude, again, it's not just him, it's the impact that he makes throughout the rest of the defense. So who emerges as that? Now, do you all of a sudden kind of open up the cupboard a little bit, Shane, and be like, okay, well, if we don't have the dude, now I got to figure out how I am going to get to the quarterback if you are Spencer Danielson. Do the nickel's a pretty versatile spot.
Yeah.
You start. Is he a guy that you have to like start sending after the quarterback a little bit more, things like that? How do you generate that pressure? Because you can't just sit back there and not do it. Like, you got to figure out a way to do it.
That's typically your answer when you don't have guys who are great pass rushers. You start sending some pressure. You start getting a little help from your linebackers and your DBs. That's got to be it.
Which now puts your corners in a little bit more of a of a difficult position, which I don't know if that's what you want to do, but it's pick your poison at that point. And that's where it probably comes back to, you got to know when to throttle down, throttle up, and be as unpredictable as possible in the looks that you give and the pressure that you bring. There's probably more that's going to be put on the defensive coordinator's shoulders right now.
Yeah.
As they just try to figure this thing out.
For sure.
So now, man, normally you get an FCS team on the blue. This is an exciting time because you're going to get right, figure this out. But at 0-2, I don't know if you can assume anything, Shane. And North Dakota rolls into Boise averaging 46 points a contest. They have a quarterback that's completing 77% of his throws. They're 2-0. They're an FCS team, but they're ranked 14th in the country at the FCS level. And now you're all of a sudden on guard a little bit because you're in show me mode, prove it mode, whatever it is. This is not a game that you roll into thinking, FCS opponent, we got this.
Yeah, we're the wounded dog, and it's a little scary. What's coming to town. It's a team that has, if they lose by 50, they're fine.
Yeah,
they were supposed to lose by 50.
Yeah,
if they compete, it's great. We competed with this team who's more superior than us. We are in a really bad spot. This game is what they call a trap game.
Yeah,
and so
everybody that I've talked to about the month of September, right? The worst case scenario anybody could possibly imagine was always 1-4. Well, guess who the one was? It was North Dakota. I'm not picking an upset, people. I'm not. I still think the Broncos win by a comfortable margin on Saturday, but I just don't think we can assume that right now. This team needs to continue to get better. One could argue this is maybe the most important game of the season because it is their chance to get right. We talk about taking what you do in practice and executing it in the game, and that's not only X's and O's, but that's also just having your confidence follow you over into a game. This is the game where they can build confidence, and then all of a sudden maybe that creates the momentum going to San Diego State, to Memphis, and all the conference games left after that. That's why this game, it sounds silly to say it, but it's the most important game of the season right now.
Yeah, when you're in this spot that we're in, each game that you play, like they always say, you always focus on the next one. For us, it's couldn't be more right.
Yeah. Get Ashton Jeanty the ball as much as you possibly can. Have a few big plays in the passing game. That's imperative. I will say tackling's been decent, I would say, for Boise State so far this year, but you got to limit big plays on defense. They've given up too many of those. I think that there's one team in the country that's given up more plays of 20 or more yards on defense this season, and they just got blasted by Nevada at home. Blasted by Idaho at home. I'm talking about Nevada.
Yeah.
Nevada's given up 21 plays of 20 or more yards, Boise State at 20. So there's definitely a different level of competition the Broncos and Wolfpack have faced so far this season. But either way, that's just not company that you want to be in. So they've got to figure all this out, and if they do, you like their chances moving forward, but it begins this Saturday against North Dakota. So, Shane, as we do each and every week here during football season, I need to know exactly how many points Boise State's going to score and give up when the Fighting Hawks roll into the blue.
I think you find some explosives in the pass game this week from actual receivers. Obviously, if we do not get Ashton Jeanty the ball, we will have some problems. So I think we go 38. We're going to finally, cross that threshold.
Put it together a little there. Get over 30.
38, but I don't think this is a game that we're not a blowout team to me.
Okay.
So it'll be competitive. I'm thinking 38-24.
Okay.
So they'll be about 14.
Okay.
That's what I like.
At this point in time, I think anybody would take it. Given the fact that, again, North Dakota rolls in averaging over 46 a game, and if they can get to 38, this is the last 3 years, or I guess 2+ seasons, Boise State they're not averaging 30 points a game, and that the standard used to be almost 40 a game there for 20 straight years, right? And if they can get to 38, it seems like that would be a positive sign. I don't care who they're playing. I'm going to say hopefully they can score more than that, but that is just hope at this point in time. But again, early morning kickoff. North Dakota on the blue. Looks like they're going to go all white. What do you think about that? We talked about wearing all blue at home, and maybe it's not the best time to bring it up, but they, for the most part, when they were there all blue, exception to last week, had been unbeatable. Now they're all white at home. At least, I don't know that for a fact, but all the logos and stuff they're putting out there, maybe they go orange. I don't know, but
I think at this point we're in the mode of we have to change whatever we're doing. We have to do something different because what we're doing is not working.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably what they're doing. They'll come out with something.
Is a 10 a.m. kickoff a big deal?
That I think that is going to affect the players the most. We're used to waking up, getting there, going to the facility, doing a walkthrough, and then having a team breakfast, and then we get because we obviously used to play at 8 p.m., getting about 6 hours to go home, relax, watch football all day, treatment, whatever you need to get, and then come back, and then now we're in the mode. Well, now you're probably going to be up at 5 a.m., and that's just going to –
Andy said they'll be up about an hour earlier than they normally are on a Tuesday practice, because they do practice in the morning at Boise State. I mean, usually practice begins, I think, 8:30-ish. He says they'll be up about an hour earlier.
Yeah,
That's still
getting
early,
up and
though.
getting ready for practice and getting up and getting ready for a game, telling your mind, your body.
Let me ask you this. Is it getting up or is it getting down? What I mean by that is it powering down the night before and making sure you're not feeling the adrenaline and stuff and getting to bed?
See, that was the good thing about – and you said that it's an hour before normal practice.
Yeah.
But normal game, they aren't up till 9, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So getting up and getting ready for a game, or going to sleep the night before a game is always tough.
Yeah.
So then now you're going to probably go to sleep late. On top of going to sleep late, you got to wake up earlier, and now you got to flip the switch.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know me personally, if we ever played a 10 a.m. game, I was not eating much. So
breakfast?
everything's gonna be off.
Huh.
Yeah. Do you want to eat at? Because
No,
we usually eat 3 hours before, so we can
Right.
kind of get it through. And do you want to
You
eat
don't-
at 7 a.m.?
You don't want to be feeling your breakfast, too, when you're out there trying to run around and get hit in the stomach and things like that.
You went to bed late. You woke up early. You got to eat now at 7 a.m. and you won't get to eat again until after. It's just a lot that's gonna be affected.
Well, we'll see if the Broncos can do it. Solve this 0-2 start. Shane, as always, we appreciate it.
No problem.
All right, another edition of Jay's Sports Bar, serving the Idaho sports community. We'll see you all out there at Bronco Stadium bright and early on Saturday as Boise State hosts North Dakota.